Houston, Texas, 1956. Landscaped by whitewashed tree trunks, oyster shell parking lots, roadside watermelon stands, sawdust dance floors, and Pentecostal tent revivals, proudly proclaimed itself the murder capital of the world. It remains unclear whether such dubious distinction was substantiated by statistical evidence. No doubt the Chamber of Commerce had facts to the contrary. But in the hometown of my childhood, statements made loud stayed loud. As a backdrop for my misspent youth, there was no substitute for hot nights, fist fights, fat stock shows, rodeos, cherry bombs, peeping toms, and loudmouth Texans. Populated by lovable ne'er-do-wells and flatland hillbillies, the east side of our fair city was a post-depression mecca for lost souls and poor people. Common labor was plentiful. Honky-tonks were the cultural center of the universe. Petty crime was an art form. And greasy hamburgers were considered a delicacy. The streets were full of high hopes and low IQs, and my family was among the proudest of its underachievers. Before this particular morning, I don't recall having had it brought to my attention that an automobile was capable of reproducing music. As far as I was concerned, that function belonged solely to the ice house jukeboxes of the world and my grandmother's old Victrola radio. That misconception was soon to be changed. Out of nowhere, the slow, rolling, chugging rhythm of a freight train began to assemble itself. A hypnotic drone that I can describe only as the strumming of a sandpaper guitar made the first signs of an assault on my unsuspecting senses. Gradually, I became aware that, like a genie, out of the dashboard directly in front of me, a song was taking form. A voice sounding very much like Abraham Lincoln looked started humming long, low, single-note passages with the gravity of an earthquake, making my front teeth more loose than they already were. Identifying itself with illogical directness, a melody wafted its way through the car, magic carpet style, carrying on it these exotic words. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Spooky shades of blue and gray, like the light from a black and white television, saturated the interior of Little Willie's Roadster. I couldn't tell if it was a haunting or an hallucination. My father and grandfather seemed far away, and my words, if I could have spoken, would not have traveled the distance required to reach them. I had taken a direct hit from a sucker punch masquerading as a song, and reality as I knew it was long gone, like the air I had been breathing just a few minutes before. I don't know what my father or grandfather experienced that morning, if anything. I never asked. I don't know if we made it to our destination or if we caught any fish, but I do know this. Until the day my grandfather died, he had a strange and maniacal reverence for the music of the man he called the greatest singer in the world, Johnny Cash. In 1901, a group of entrepreneurial Houstonians raised almost $2 million for a dredging operation designed to convert a series of marshland bayous into a deepwater shipping lane. This would come to be called the Houston Ship Channel. When the digging was done, the channel stretched some 50 miles inland from Galveston Bay to the eastern edge of downtown Houston. In 1901, Houston's chip in the big game of global commerce received an unexpected boost when the daddy of all North American oil gushers, Spindletop, exploded on the scene somewhere near the Texas-Louisiana border. Mother Nature herself had put a big yellow bow around the oil boom and delivered it to Houston's doorstep by way of its freshly dug channel. Like Detroit's assembly lines, the ship channel provided menial work for fresh from the sticks, Depression-era sharecrop farm kids like my mother and father.
In the shadow of the refineries and chemical plants that line the ship channel like poisonous gas-spewing space station, my parents took their first few steps toward the future.